Hi guys, welcome to a brand new episode of HopStart. We've had a very exciting journey in Bombay and Bangalore, and this brings us to an end of our journey. I'm here at Bangalore and I'm going to go and meet the founders of Perpule, Abhinav and Saket, who's going to tell us all about the self-checkout app. Let's go and meet them.
Hi, this is Abhinav. I'm the founder and CEO at Perpule.
Hi Abhinav, welcome to our show. Well, can you tell me something about Perpule?
Hi, thanks so much. Glad to be here. So yeah, Perpule is a 2.5-year-old startup. We started with a vision to ensure that people don't stand in lines. That's the single point thing that Perpule stands for even today. So we launched like a self-checkout application for grocery stores and food, which worked very well for us in scaling at this particular time. And in parallel, we also launched another vertical, which is basically an end-to-end POS billing solution, which brings a lot of efficiency to the retail operations for the various retailers in the country. So that's what our focus at this moment is.
All right, besides business, I have a very unrelated question. Why is it called Perpule?
Interesting question. So multiple reasons. I think the first one being because we wanted to associate ourselves with some sort of the consumer set. So after doing a lot of study around the overall consumer behavior and the patterns and the, like you can say, association we wanted to go behind, we wanted to build like an aspirational consumer brand. And we wanted to give it like a new name which doesn't really exist out there. And we wanted to make it like tough and fancy. So that's how it happened. After multiple iterations.
Well, how long has it been? About 2 years?
A bit more than 2 years.
A bit more than 2 years. And you started this venture with your friend.
Yes.
And that is...
Two of them, Saket and Yogesh. And Saket was my colleague at Goldman. He is ex-IIT Madras and worked with me at Goldman, both in India and US. And Yogesh happens to be my college junior.
And what was your background like?
I'm an engineer from NIT Surathkal, batch of 2015.
All right.
And yeah, post that was working at Goldman. Yeah.
Well, you all thought of getting together and starting a new venture. Well, my next question to you is that every partner in a startup brings something new onto the table or brings something different onto the table. What is it that you bring onto the table here at Perpule?
So primarily my focus is around the business overall, how it scales in terms of growth, organizational strategies, what to look at, how to really make this grow into like a solid business and not just like a small startup. So that's what I primarily look at, overall governance around the initiatives, new and old, and make sure that we are working towards one common goal and drive success in whatever we are looking at.
Okay, and what are your future plans with Perpule?
So I think,
is it just for food and groceries, or do you like to expand?
So I think food and grocery in itself is a big market for us right now. And the way we've been scaling in the last 2 quarters, this quarter particularly has been like phenomenal for us so far.
Tell me something about how's it doing right now.
So I think we are in middle of 8 super large deals right now, hoping to finish all of them by June 30th to really make sure that this quarter becomes a real successful one, and actually the best one if that happens. So we have like just in the rollout stages of all these 8 super large retailers where we are doing a rollout at this time. So if that happens, we would love to just replicate this in the 2 remaining quarters, and then we'll call 19 like a great year for us. So that's what the focus at this moment is.
All right. So I have a question about security here, because it's a self-checkout app and a lot of people, let's not completely negate the concept of theft, right? People, there will be someone or the other who might be enticed to take something or flip something. So how do you keep a check on that?
So we have done multiple checks and balances on the overall self-checkout side. So just before the exit, the consumer puts their items on a weighing machine, and we are trying to build some more checks similar to the weight-based check that already exists in the market. On top of that, we are trying to build some sort of computer vision-based technology to really capture that.
All right, this is a great idea, and it's of course very new to the Indian market. But however, did you have to face any difficulty when you were trying to sell this idea?
Oh, massive. I think because for a country like India where change isn't so natural, right? And obviously because of our population,
and not accepted.
Exactly, not at all accepted.
Yes.
So I think it was really hard initially, but since the product is really valuable, it saves people time, it saves people from standing in lines and wasting their time, stuff like that. So I think it's a no-brainer to adopt, but the initial challenges of change are always there. So I think we got a good sales team around to handle those objections. They could really win the customers totally on all their objections that they were raising. And overall, I think we're doing good on that particular front.
Okay, now moving on to the essence of this entire show, which is about entrepreneurship and people pursuing different paths in their careers. So what are the challenges as an entrepreneur that all 3 of you had to face, besides just selling the idea?
I think multiple, that's like probably a favorite question for every entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
But I probably will list down a few. So the first one being around, like you always have to do a lot more than what's expected, right? Like, and there's nobody telling you which direction to go, what's right, what's not right, where to invest, where not to invest, and so on, right? So I think that was one particular very big challenge for me. Always validating that whatever you're doing at this particular moment, is that the right thing?
Yes.
Because you can always stop that and start doing something else,
Yes.
right? And same is the case for focus. Like you can put focus on 2 things, 3 things, or 5 things. So I think taking that call, what is it that you're really gonna invest yourself as well as the whole organization in, is a very, very tough call, taking that decision, and keep validating it with the market and the experts that you meet with. Beyond that, I would say the other challenges are around adoption, because we happen to work with super large clients. Like the smallest client we work with is like a 2,000 crore company, and we're like nothing in front of them. So them believing that us would really work with them and would not cause them a potential loss is something that was a bit tricky, but I would say over time we got it right. So I think if you get 1 or 2 clients out, then it's fairly easy to replicate that model for everybody else.
So now, since we were talking about markets, what are the primary roles that you have as a business development expert for your company?
So I think figuring out newer markets and making sure the existing market also is scaling. So I think there are key metrics that generally we identify. So how we operate is that for every single client, every single region, for every single, you can say, vertical, we will have a few key matrices, and we kind of look at them like very, very frequently from a week-on-week, month-on-month perspective. So if any metric is not doing good, that definitely is giving you a indication that something is going wrong.
Exactly.
So keep iterating and make sure that all the metrics are where you want them to be. And for a new vertical, what time it takes to get them to that particular point, because on day one, obviously, they won't be where you want them to be. So if you're launching a new vertical, do some enough validation on that particular front and make sure.
And how do you get that?
Like, how do you get the metrics?
Validation and metrics.
I think metrics itself is the best validation.
Okay.
But when you don't, because it takes some time to build the metric, like somebody needs to use it. So before that, I would say, like, there are a lot of industry experts and clients happen to be a very good validation for us. Like if suppose somebody is really investing and paying us for this particular product, forget the metric, that will come later, right? At this particular moment, it itself is a validation.
So what is it that you look for in someone when you're hiring them?
Right, I think hiring is one
And
of
a
the
lot
most...
of people are watching this right now.
That's right, the best question and the
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah.
So I think when we really hire, we go around to invest in the pedigree, because we are a very, very young team. If you find probably the average age of the company will be 26, 27. So we really want to maintain that. And for a team like this, the pedigree is really huge, but making sure that the results and the outcomes that are expected are also being achieved is a very big challenge. So which is why we look for folks who are absolutely focused, who can do literally anything to win, whether it's technology or it's product or it's sales, marketing, HR, legal, finance, whatever we are hiring for. They have an inherent DNA to go and completely win out, and then obviously they have all the resources available here. So we don't focus a lot on the subject matter expertise, because we feel it's changing and anybody can acquire that. If the DNA and the focus in the person is to win it, they will eventually win. So
Alright, when you talk about pedigree, there are 2 things that you can actually look into. One is purely academic background, and the other is the kind of experience that they've had. Do you look at both, or?
We look at a mix of that, I would say, but we are
Because
priority.
right now companies have these unbelievable expectations out of kids, where they're just like, oh, we need 20 years of experience. Yeah.
So we don't have, we absolutely don't have any benchmarks and brackets of experience. If you probably see how our org is set up, there are young folks leading a team of super large experienced folks, and vice versa as well. So we are like totally merit driven on that. If a person has a dream and the right DNA to achieve it, I think we give them whatever they need. So we just want people who really have a dream, because I think everything else can be achieved and learned.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was lovely talking to you,
Same
and
here.
I wish you all the best.
Same here. Thank you so
you.
much for having me over.
Thank you.
2, 1.
Hi guys, I'm Saket, one of the co-founders of Perpule. I lead engineering here, and I've been doing this for the last 2.5 years.
Hello Saket, welcome to our show. And can you tell me something about Perpule from your perspective, like an engineer's perspective?
Cool, awesome. So I'll tell you how we look at it and how our clients look at it too, right? That'll probably be a good background to set up. So most of our clients are primarily offline retailers, like the likes of Big Bazaar, Spar, More, etc. Right? All of them you've seen from quite long. They're not new, like Flipkart, etc. They've been there for like 20 years, 25 years,
yes.
right? Similarly, their technology has also been the same since 20 and 25 years, right? That's basically where we come in. That's usually how we start our pitches too, right? We try to show them that they're now fighting actually technology giants who are like very fast, agile, and can create new variants and experiments in like days. Like these guys, let's say they want to launch a loyalty card.
Yes.
They'll take like 2 months to actually build it, 2 months to verify it, 3 months to roll it out across all stores because their technology is not cloud-based. They don't have the latest things and they don't have an in-house technology team to even build stuff like that. Right? Because their primary business is selling grocery, right? They're not technology people at the heart.
Yes.
That's basically where we come in, right? We are trying to build a platform that is agile enough, iterable enough for them to help them compete against these online giants. And in that process, we are enabling experiences like self-checkout, smart point of sale, reporting solutions that are available in near real time that can allow them to take decisions that at least until now weren't fast enough to enable optimizations within the day. So all these ideally bring in those experiences, feedbacks, recommendations. That's like second nature to Amazon or Walmart when you actually go to their website, but nothing like that is actually there in the offline world. So that's where we come in. And the first thing that we actually thought would work out really well and gel with them was self-checkout, and that's how the whole journey
That's a concept which is
self-checkout
fairly
started.
new to India, and I've also
Right.
spoken about this to Abhinav.
Right.
So I want to know a little bit about your backgrounds as a CTO.
Okay.
What is it that you did? And I believe engineering.
Cool. So at the heart, I've been a coder for I've actually done my electrical engineering from IIT Madras, not computer science. But since my first year, I've actually been very, very closely involved with the whole computer science area and the coding part. I used to attend hackathons all the time, been there many times, right? So I used to be a coder at heart, like always.
The cool nerds, I'm sorry to say that, but yeah.
Maybe
the
so.
hackers are those, yeah.
So hackathons were like one of the things I used to do, and I used to love them a lot, right? So even during my third and fourth year, I actually worked with a lot of startups, tried something on my own too, even during college. And that used to give me a hand,
Yes.
right? So post that is when we actually figured out what we'll be doing. And while I joined Goldman Sachs for my job, there was always that, itching to go out and start something on my own.
Yes.
That's when I actually met Abhinav and when we started this company. But because of my coding background for pretty much most of the 5 years, that actually helped me ease very easily into this role. While challenges initially are very different from what they are now. Initially, it's like I built the whole thing, right? Like
Exactly.
me and my other co-founders. But now it is like I
there's
don't
more
really
pressure
build
on him.
anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like I have a team now whom I have to empower, who can get things done because I can't get involved in things, and ensuring this optimizations, efficiencies, good quality code, etc. for scalability is built by everyone in the team becomes my priority now. Not just since control is not just with me, right?
course.
I'm empowering the whole team. So those are new challenges that we are
You
facing
still
right
back
now.
it with newer technology every day, or is that a challenge for you?
So how it works is we use the technology that's appropriate, whether it's new, old, I don't really bother that much. So we've started with the stack that is like pretty stable, and as and when we get new technology, if we feel that there is a need for a revamp or improving, upgrading to the new version, we take the call and we do it. But it's always basis if there's a real need to actually move, not just because it is the latest technology.
Okay, you mentioned coding. So
Right.
did you ever have any formal training in coding?
Yeah, so we had a few courses in our college that did it, so that's pretty much it. But other
And
than
is
that,
that enough for you to learn?
so the best part about it is, at least in real world, whatever you do, whatever you build, you don't really get taught that in college and via formal courses. That's something most people learn on their own. They make mistakes, learn, and get mentors who actually help them with it. So I have a lot of good mentors. That's actually one of the best things that happens with the startup ecosystem.
And how do you seek these mentors?
So it starts off with you networking yourself within events, etc. But once you're funded, etc., most of your partner companies within the funding portfolios, all of them get easily network with you really well. So, for example, Prime Venture Partners and Kalari portfolio, I pretty much know the CTOs of most of those companies, many times the CEOs too, whom I can interact with, understand how they do things, and we have a nice community. Like I have multiple WhatsApp groups, for example, where I
So
can chat
networking
with
is
them.
not just for the domain of
Yeah.
business development, it's also for tech as well.
Yeah, so network is, I think, whether it is business or engineering or operations, I think network is something that is going to continue with you forever. So I think that's something you always have to build. And that'll help you understand your competition and what others are doing too. Otherwise, you'll be in a well that you'll not understand what else is coming up. So this is one of the best ways. So there are two ways I learn new things because I'm really busy. One is via interviews. I take a lot of interviews. I figure out everything about them. I learn more than what they learn from me, I'm sure. The second thing is via the network, right? I keep reaching out. Even when I know the answer, sometimes I actually reach out just so that, I can stay in touch and have a conversation. So that helps a lot.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, I asked Abhinav about the set of challenges he had faced, but what are the kinds of challenges that you face?
Right. So one of the things I think everyone is probably going to say it is hiring, right? So ensuring you get the right talent at the right time so that they can build the team, and you also need to reach out quite hard because especially in the seed stages, etc., most people, the junior developers, etc., all of them, at least because of the likes of Flipkart, Ola, Swiggy, they're being paid really high, which we actually cannot afford. So you need to convince them, make them understand our whole thought process, why we are actually doing this before they can actually come on board. While that becomes easier once you raise more rounds, initially it's tougher. And once you want to expand really fast, again, so hiring is a continuous process. So you need to always keep that at the back of your mind, ensure you get good engineers and candidates who keep coming. So that's surely been one challenge. We've hopefully fixed over time, and now we have a good inflow of candidates to our company. Another is, like I said, right, challenges are different at different scales. Initially, it was trying to get out a solution as fast as possible so that I can get my first client on board, right? That's what it is. Because every month that goes past, every week that goes past without us getting our first client or getting a new customer, it's really hard. But now it's more about creating that stable product that can scale up to more clients. That's number one. So it's a different thought process to how you even build systems that you need to learn. Plus now, since you have a team managing the whole team, ensuring they care about the product as much as you do and build systems that show that care, right? Making sure everyone thinks that way is another thing that is a challenge that hopefully we solve over time.
A piece of advice that you would like to give to any budding entrepreneur out there?
Cool. So I'd probably tell it in a different way, right? If it was me and I've not started Perpule and I was still at Goldman, or I was a new guy who was trying to think of an idea, or I'm still in a corporate job, the way I decided to actually start a startup, even though one is I of course like the idea, and two, I always had that passion. But the other thing was there was really no downside, right? So if you start up something on your own early stages of your career, even if your startup fails, I think it's a positive thing because you would have learned so many things during that duration. So there's no downside to starting a startup, especially early on in your career. That I think that risk is actually one that people think there is a downside for, but I actually don't think there is, which is why to me it was a very obvious decision to start something up on my own. So I hope people go over that fear because a lot of people have ideas, they want to try something out, but they feel that there is some downside to starting something on their own because it might fail. Of course. Right? But I believe even that downside is actually a positive thing. So I just urge them to think of it that way and actually go for it.
Well, thank you so much. It was lovely talking to
Likewise.
you. And I wish you and your other two co-founders all the best because Perpule is really on an upward growth right now.
Thank you.
It's doing great. Thank you. Well guys, this brings us to an end of our travelogues. Well, I hope you guys liked what we had in store for you from Bombay and Bangalore. I truly had a great time talking to Abhinav and Saket about Perpule. I hope you guys liked it too. If you have any professional queries, feel free to shoot them to us and we will get them featured here on HopStart. I will see you all very soon and back in Delhi. And until next time, I'm Mohika. Bye-bye.